SimTheWorld here, back with our full restoration series in Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. Today, via user request, we are taking a look at the 1965 Mustang. We're going to have to track one down first, though. So, let's go find one. Alright, so I was stumbling my way through here, and what piques my attention? This beauty right here. It's halfway buried in the ground. Yeah, interesting rust model in the back here. Those stripes. It's shouldn't be seen, but we won't be seeing that for long. We'll be taking care of all of the rust. See how much they want for it. It is a 1965 Ford Mustang GT version. The mod comes with several different types: a stock, a GT, a race, and a drag version, I believe. This is the version we found. Interesting. There's no engine swap options. I was actually, I think the stock version has an inline 6, but since we have the Ford DLC, we might as well use the Ford engine that comes with it. So for $10,000, this is a steal in my mind. I don't think you're going to be finding a 65 in a junkyard that's actually salvageable. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those are somewhat common. I doubt it. But let's get back to the garage and get this fixed up. Alright. So, we are back from the junkyard. As you can see, the car doesn't look in great shape. It has seen its better days. God, the car is what? 55 years old? I guess it has a right to have seen its better days. Well, yeah. It is a rust bucket. Let's get it over to the lifter. I'm going to want to take off the body parts. This is where we're going to get to see just how many components there are to the vehicle, especially given the modder's choice. There are a few different versions. Alright, I'm not seeing a lot. I'm seeing body windows. You got the front window. Not seeing any other weird components. The hood. Got the front end. Sometimes they try to sneak something in, but it doesn't look like it. Looks like it's the typical components that you find inside the game itself. Is there any... Yeah, there's no body parts. We need front seats and a steering wheel. But that will come in time, like we usually do in this series. We take everything out, we rip it apart, and we start putting in all fresh new parts. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and disassemble this off camera. We'll get the engine up on the engine stand and see if we can't start repairing some of these things. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Alright, so we are back. I finished ripping everything out of the undercarriage. All that's left is the engine block. So why don't we get our engine crane over there and remove that as well. Then we'll finally just have the shell of the car. We can get this over onto the stand. We're going to deal with that in just a little bit. But as usual, I like to tidy up the car. This is one of my favorite parts of doing these full restorations. I know it's simple, I know it's not realistic whatsoever, but the interior is clean with the click of the button, and with one click of this button, this car is back alive. Now, I know welding is not going to make it look like this. Especially look at the interior. Like, this has got to be, you know, that click of the button correlates to hundreds of hours of, you know, getting the dash in, getting everything cleaned up and replaced. New paint on the car, the stripes, the details. Not realistic, but quite satisfying just to see. So why don't we go ahead and... I found some seats that should fit. These are from the Mustang DLC, of course. And didn't want to stay there for the steering... There it is, steering wheel. Sometimes if you're not quick enough, it will pop away. I wish there was just like a second or two delay on that. That would help in the future. But before we get to the engine, might as well put the all the suspension components back in. Ooh, maybe I missed a part. Yeah. Oh, and well, I'll save the body until everything else is together. Let's go ahead. I'm going to race through this as quick as we can, and we'll be back to tackle that engine. This suspension has come together fairly quickly. I do like these older cars with the leaf spring rear ends. That is a lot less work than some of the more modern cars. We'll pop out of there, we can lower this down. And now comes the tough part. This was all super easy, as it always is. But what's left here is not much on this engine. Obviously, we're going to be using all the tuning performance parts in the game. That way we can say we did absolutely everything with this vehicle. We just need to get the crankshaft out. And we're going to need to pick up some new parts. So with that, I'm going to go to the store, put in an order for all the parts to this engine, and see if we can't get it built. Alright, so I've got some of the parts. We got the new engine block on the stand. But since we raced through the rebuild of the suspension, I thought I'd bring you guys along with me on the rebuild of the engine. Especially since this is one of the DLC Ford engines, it is cool to take a look, see what's involved with it, see what it incorporates, the new parts, how the tuning parts all work together. That way, if you guys haven't purchased it, this gives you kind of an idea of one of the engines that comes along with it. It gives you an idea of how well the tuning parts all go together, how well they're supported. All of these things make a difference when it comes to purchasing an expansion or a DLC to a game. Don't want to just race and grab the first thing you can find. So we've got the tuning piston parts. Obviously the rings are just the standard. It would be interesting if they do, if they do a second addition to the game, it'd be nice to see a little more customability with these parts. Something with perhaps lining up or getting the rings set correctly, not just slapping in the standard one size fits all. I guess that'd be the same with the pistons too. Like, we have the piston that just goes into almost every vehicle unless it's... There's like 2 DLC versions of pistons that you can have. So, here's to hoping. A little more variety. Some more customability. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? I know I did a 2021, kind of wish list of different features to see. Obviously, there are way too many to actually get into that is realistic to be in a game. But I think there's a few that we can, really hope or expect to see in future titles. Alright, so I believe we're getting close to the point where I did not buy parts. Being the first time I'm working with this engine in quite some time. Yeah, we need push rods, so we're going to need rocker arms. We need the exhaust manifold. Alternator. Do I have an alternator? I do, but it's not a tuning part. Cam gear, and you can put the other engine head in. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the shop and get the rest of these parts too. Make the next push. Alright, so we have the next batch of parts. I'm going to start down here, get these spark plugs put in. Sometimes the outline is a little difficult to see. So before I put in the manifold, I want to make sure that I have everything else in place. Alright, all these push rods, these get tedious with the rocker arms to boot. For those of you watching the episode, why don't you let me know what is your car that, your favorite car, a car you'd love to see featured in the full restoration series? Obviously, we've had a few users now make some suggestions, and this is one of them. So it's easy to get featured. There's not a long list to go through. I'd also like to start taking a look at the DLC cars too, not just the modded versions. This engine stand does not want to cooperate. Couldn't see those bolts up top. That is my one desire, that there'd be a better... You can't really zoom out on this engine too far. Only a little bit. So while I do this, let's get the spark plugs over here done. We're moving right along with this build. I wish restoring vehicles were this easy in real life. I'm making it look so easy. This game, obviously, if it was a game that was true to life, I don't think a lot of people would want to play it. You'd have to deal with rusted, seized up bolts, having to weld and redo paneling as the car is falling apart in your driveway. There is so many, just the fitting of parts and making sure everything works together. There's so much detail that goes into just building and restoring a car in real life that I don't even think a game could capture it. And if it did, it'd be specific to like 1 or 2 cars. You couldn't do it on a large scale. Alright, so we're getting up to the time where I have not gotten the rest of the parts yet. But we are getting close to finishing the engine, so after this, I'm going to get the rest of the parts, slap them on, and we're going to move over back to the car and get this engine in place. Alright, so the engine is done. I'm about to drop it into the car. We should have 100% on everything. I'm going to... let's get some oil in this. Mustn't forget the oil. We would not be going very far in this car. There we are. And we have a few more things to put in. We have the radiator. We have the battery. I think that's it for up front. Yeah, I think we're good. We still have the transmission to do. I don't think I have a transmission with me. So let's jump up here. We'll jump into part mode. Yeah, we don't have anything with us, so let me go to the store real quick. I'm just thinking I need a starter too. Go over to the custom gearboxes. Not that I've figured out how to use these quite yet. In my testing where I've played around with the settings, played around with the sliders, some people have said that you get a little more performance, that you can go faster. In all of my testing, I found it just decreases performance from stock, so it's probably just a combination of me not understanding the gear ratios and how to set that up correctly, while at the same time having very little overall performance impact to the vehicle. Let's take a look and make sure. Yep, we got all the body parts in. The last thing we have to do is get the body parts themselves on the vehicle. And we'll get a good look at what this car is going to end up looking like. Alright, so I did come back to the paint shop. I wanted to make mention, not a lot of mods make use of the different skins or different decals you can do. This one, however, does give you the option of quite a few different color options of stripes going down the middle. So if that is something of interest to you. And with this, we have finished up the paint job. I went with the classic orange with the black stripes down the center. Now, for some reason, I always, pair orange and black with Dodge. Maybe that is just something ingrained in my mind, but I think this looks really good on this Mustang. What are your guys' thoughts? Is this a good-looking car? Do you have experience with these cars yourselves? Any stories of your old 65 Mustang in the past? Or do you got any ideas for future restoration vehicles? I'll be checking the comments below, but thanks for watching as I simulate my life one game at a time. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the future action. You can follow on Twitter for updates of future games being played, as well as follow on Twitch as I try to stream 3 days a week. Thanks, and I'll see you next time at SimTheWorld.